some people who watch this later who are only here for the 10 things. And then we'll have our fun live chat after that. So let's get right into it. 10 daily activities to improve the self-image according to Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Now, if you don't know who Dr. Maxwell Maltz is, he was the world's first plastic surgeon. And he discovered that actually fixing, and this is at the time that plastic surgery was not really cosmetic. It was more for necessity, for someone who was disfigured, someone who was injured. And basically he did these procedures, and then afterward, people would not feel different. They would look in the mirror and have a disfigurement changed and then not be able to see the difference. So he realized that basically he came up with this concept. One of the concepts was emotional surgery. And he basically decided that you can't really fix people from the outside because it all comes down to the self-image, which is so interesting that the premise of basically all self-help, because this is the person who inspired Joe Dispenza, inspired Tony Robbins. This is OG stuff. World's first plastic surgeon, And so these were some of the things that he talked about. Mental movies or theater of the mind. So we talk about this in the Silva method. We talk about this in a lot of different techniques, shamanistic techniques, remote viewing, astral projection. All of these different things are using different mental visualization techniques, imagination or visualization, whatever you're comfortable with. If you feel like you can't do one, you probably have imagination. So, when it comes to the Silva method, we talk about how they like you to, when you're visualizing, to visualize it on a screen 6 feet ahead of you. And we went over that in the class. Like I said, the replay is on my Substack. And the reason I bring this up is because Dr. Maxwell Maltz talked about theater of the mind a very long time ago. And what he would do is kind of visualize yourself walking into a theater. And this is the theater of your mind. And then you can imagine kind of this, seeing yourself walking into this ornate theater or whatever type of theater you'd like it to be. And that's where this concept, where also Joe Dispenza talks about like mind movies, which he took a little bit of a different direction with it. I think he had like a website of how to create one for like assisting with visualization. But again, it was kind of the same technique. So, number one daily thing that you can do is mental movies. You need to dedicate time each day to visualize yourself in positive scenarios and achieving your goals. See yourself succeeding and feeling confident. So as simple as that could be, if you can only do that for 1 minute, if you're meditating or you're just going to sit there and you only have 1 minute to spare, you're on the bus and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to have a couple minutes to my stop. Close your eyes, go into the theater of your mind, see yourself going into a theater. This is your place for you to work, train, and become better. And so you go into the theater of your mind, take minimum 1 minute just to visualize yourself. See yourself if you're on your way to work. See yourself having a great day at work. See yourself making a lot of money. See your sales going well. If you are on your way to a doctor's appointment, see yourself having improvements. See yourself, obviously, it's helpful to do it right before, not sooner than right before when you're walking into the appointment, but you get what I mean. So number one, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, mental movies. Mental rehearsal of an important skill. So this is kind of secondary to the mental movies concept. So sometimes you're going to go into the theater of your mind and you're not just going to watch what you want to see in the future. You're not just going to see yourself getting better at the skills that are connected to your job or something that you're developing, whether it's your health, whether you want to become mentally better. For myself recently, I've been struggling so bad with procrastination. Those of you guys who watch closely probably have noticed that I've been struggling with procrastination. I've almost felt like I was sick for like 2 weeks, even though thankfully I wasn't physically sick. But I feel like, I talked about it a couple weeks ago that kind of doing all of that shadow work and stuff kind of laid me out for a couple weeks. But now I feel like I'm coming back and all of these tools coming back to these things, even though I've read, listened to Psycho-Cybernetics so many times, coming back to it again. I've done the Silva Method class. I've read the book. I did different online courses. I'll go back and listen to that stuff again, reflect on all of that again. You guys know I also love Marissa Peer, and that's going to come up later. Okay, so let's do the mental rehearsal of an important skill. So instead of when you're doing your visualization, don't only visualize what you want to happen. Reflect on other times that you've done this before. So let's say you're in a sales job. Instead of only visualizing new sales coming in, visualize past times where sales have come in, past times where you've closed the deal where you didn't think you'd be able to. Or if it's something physical, think about past times that you were able to do this. Think about past times that you were more fit, where you were more able to run and stuff. So say like for fitness, you're going to mental movie, visualize yourself jogging, and you're doing it well, you know, you're not like all, you're not too beat up from the jog, you know, you're handling it well. But then also visualize yourself in other times where you've been very physically fit, more active, able to do things. Maybe even it doesn't need to be that you worked out more. It could just be a time in your life where you remember your body looking a way that you like. Visualize the past. It could also be skills too. Say if you're trying to improve your skills with something specific, think about the other times, how far you've come in that specific skill. So number 2. Mental rehearsals. Also, this is all in the description below. So if you feel like you need to take notes or something, you could just copy it from the caption. I have it, same thing that I'm reading from right now, I put in there. So, okay, so number 3, goal review. So just to go over this, these are 10 daily activities that will restore your self-image. And the concept of the self-image, this is different than, say, self-worth. I actually prefer using self-image over self-worth. Sometimes self-worth is necessary when it's an issue of worthiness. But sometimes, which come back into the self-image, I've already done videos on it, but just to refresh, the thing with the self-image is that if your self-image is not matching with the things you're trying to bring into your life, you can't bring them in, you know? So let's say you are visualizing yourself becoming a millionaire, but then something in your self-image could be connected to self-worth, but let's just talk about self-image. Maybe you just genuinely, maybe it's not that you don't think you deserve the money. You've done the healing on the deserving of the money. You've done the healing of all of that stuff, but then it's still not here. So maybe this is a rewiring of the self-image. Maybe you just simply do not see yourself on a subconscious level as someone who has these things, as someone who lives this way. So this is why Dr. Maxwell Maltz says that a lot of times, unless you work on the self-image, you're not going to really be able to manifest all of the things that you want. So that's why you have the mental movies. The self-image is increased when we see ourselves doing it, because the brain doesn't need it to be a real event. It could be a simulated event. You still have the information in there. And then the rehearsal builds the self-image because it's playing back, oh, I'm already a winner. I'm already a succeeder. I already have achieved these things. Or maybe these are smaller goals. Maybe you're just right now struggling with really bad mental state. Maybe you're having issues even getting out of bed. Maybe you're having issues even getting your regular tasks done. Maybe you're having issues even getting showered or preparing food or just really basic necessities. You might feel like you're not here yet to be able to do this, but no, your mental movie. See yourself for a couple minutes, just meditate for 5 minutes, close your eyes, breathe a little bit, put your phone away from you, and then just breathe for a couple and just quickly see yourself. Get up, make the bed, put the dishes away, put the trash away, see yourself straighten up the bathroom, see yourself do a little straightening in the kitchen, see yourself get a little quick, get while your coffee's getting made, like really simple. It doesn't need to be, of course, they want you to add as much detail as possible. But if that's where you're at, and you're not like manifesting this multi-million-dollar business, you're really just like, I'm not okay. I need to like get out of bed. I'm not well. That's what you could do for your mental movie. And then with your mental rehearsal, think about a time of like, oh, well, I've done this before. I've already had my place clean. I've already had myself looking fresh before. I've had myself, cooking amazing meals for myself. And mental rehearsal, the goal review. So you want to be reviewing your goals. Number 3, goal review. You want to be reviewing your goals every day to improve your self-image. So regularly reviewing your goals to stay focused and motivated. Remind yourself of what you're working towards. So that's another thing for your self-image too, because we're always in the now. So the now is constantly getting reprinted. So if you review your goals every day, the person you were when you made your goals, you've made a little bit of progress in those couple days. Even if it was just you did your mental movies for 3 days, you've made progress. Even if it was, hey, you just kept your place clean, or you were able to eat healthier for a couple of those days, or even just one of those days, that is a little bit of increase and a little bit of improvement from where you were when you originally made that goal. So when you do a goal review, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, look, I've already taken steps. So it's important to do the goal review. Sometimes there's a technique called the North Star method, and kind of like the concept of like, if you're lost, look at the North Star. So with this, it's kind of like the North Star is you've probably heard of this before, but it's kind of like, what is your North Star? What are you always working towards? If you're like lost, where do you look up to go? So like for me, I did it in an exercise here. We'll maybe get back to that if we have time. But the North Star, you're basically being very clear about your long-term goals. So maybe you have a lot of goals right now that you want to do, but your North Star is, well, I always wanted to publish this book, at the end of the day. So whether I'll do this, I'll do TikTok, I'll do the Substack, I'll do this, I'll do YouTube, I'll do this. So really, though, that North Star of keeping that big idea in the back of my head. Now, maybe the North Star doesn't need to be an actual goal thing. Your goal review, happiness could be a goal. Okay, for number 4, affirmations. I know this is so repetitive, and if you guys do not do your affirmations by now, I mean, come on. How many times do I have to say it? So the affirmations, I get on them, I get off them, but you know what? I need my affies. I really do. I need them every day. I got to pop them every day, because if I don't take my affies, then I'm not going to be okay. Because here, let me show you the ones that I use. I've showed you guys many times, but we're going to play a couple of them now. So this is actually, let's go through the 10, because there might be some people who are going to watch this later just for the 10, but this is the one that I like. I like Drew MacArthur. It's on Audible. I purchased it. It's called 5,000 plus affirmations for positive thinking, anxiety, brain fog, money mindset, happy thoughts, and mindfulness. Not a very creative name, but an incredible audiobook. Okay, so we'll get to that. For people who are going to want to stick around, we're going to do some affirmations together. Okay. So affirmations are obvious why they work. Marissa Peer, I think she does the best work with affirmations. That is her whole thing when it comes to hypnosis. But she says, what follows I am follows you. So you say, I am healthy. That follows you. Now you're going to be healthy. You say, I'm scared, I'm lazy, I'm tired, I'm overweight, I hate how I look, all of those things, those will follow you. So in the most simple way, whatever follows I am follows you. So that's why affirmations are so important. So we're going to do like 10 minutes of them after I get through this 10 list. Ooh, you started writing affirmations into your alarm, so when they go off, you say them. That is a great way to remember to do them. Okay, goal-directed action. Take purposeful steps towards goals each day, break them into manageable tasks, and take action to move closer towards achieving them. So not just your goal review every day, goal-directed action. So let's say your goal review, you're reviewing your goal. Your goal could be, say, fitness goal, money goal, happiness goal, general health, general mental state goal. So let's say your goal is to get rid of your depression. Okay, that is your goal. So, you know, we talk so much about these other types of goals, money, career, relationship, all of those things. But let's talk about like something that is maybe more practical for some people who might be watching. So maybe your goal is to get out of depression, get out of a funk, or to manage your anxiety. So what would be a goal-directed action for that? Take purposeful steps towards your goals each day. So let's say, you know, you're not going to cure depression in one day. However, if you say, I'm going to make my bed every single day, that could be one thing that someone with depression is suffering with because they're having trouble getting out of bed. They're having trouble getting thing. Okay, so say if that's for you. Now say something else. If you're someone who is struggling with depression, that's not your issue. Your depression is something else. Maybe journaling is going to help. Now, I would say, like I've said, I don't benefit that much from journaling unless it's kind of like a vomit style journaling, like a brain dump, a just total thing. Like I don't want to kind of have the mindfulness journaling, you know, that like mindfulness journaling. I'll be like, I don't get anywhere. I just basically end up writing affirmations, which is not bad, but they're good. But I feel like I benefit most from like the vomit style journaling. So maybe that's something that you want to implement as much as possible. So your goal would be once a day. Let's say you do once a day, your 5 days have passed, you've only done it 2 days. Those were still movement and you're still taking goal-directed action. So maybe one day you shifted a little. So let's say you forgot to do your journaling that day and you just really don't feel it in you. So then you're like, okay, well, I'll do something else today to replace that. Maybe I'm going to make sure that I do laundry today because I didn't do my journaling. So go easy on yourself. And the goal-directed action could be something big, like I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make 10 sales. Or it could be something like I'm going to make sure that I make my bed every single day. Or I'm going to make sure that I cut out my coffee in the morning until after I've eaten because I'm working on anxiety, you know? Okay. Corrective actions. Corrective actions is a big part of Psycho-Cybernetics. I mean, all of these are big parts of Psycho-Cybernetics. So I have it linked below, the full audiobook too. It's interesting, but it's a little bit boring. So, you know, you're in some ways better off just listening to this. But with these principles in, and then when you go back and listen to it, like what I love to do is walk on the treadmill, like pretty slow, regular walking, while listening to audiobooks. That is my favorite way to get information because it just keeps everything, you know, flowing. So corrective actions, identify areas where you can improve and take corrective actions, learn from mistakes and use them as opportunities for growth. Now, corrective actions sound really extreme, but they don't have to be. Like, let's say a corrective action for me would be like, okay, I was supposed to make this TikTok video the other day and now a week has passed and I haven't. What is a corrective action that I can take today? Well, maybe I'll make that TikTok video that I've been procrastinating on. So sometimes a corrective action could be like, oh, maybe that goal-directed action that I missed the other day, I correct it now and I follow it through today. Or maybe a corrective action can be something along the lines of, maybe it could be something along the lines of, say, you lost your cool with someone, you got snappy at someone, you argued with them, you yelled at your fiance, you yelled at your child because you were feisty and hadn't eaten. A corrective action would be to now have just a nice little conversation and mend that. That's a corrective action. So not corrective action doesn't always have to be like to do. Sometimes a corrective action could be a conversation. Sometimes a corrective action can be, a lot of times it is going to be following through with something that you probably should be doing that you haven't done. But that's the thing. These are 10 things that you could do every day to have a freaking solid fixed self-image. And I mean, come on, if we all did all of these things every day, we'd be rocking and rolling. Okay. Assertive communication. Practice assertive communication to express your needs and boundaries confidently. Stand up for yourself in a respectful manner. So assertive communication, you might not need to be assertive every day, but let's say your order is wrong, you can speak up about your order being wrong, or say, it doesn't necessarily mean to be aggressive. Assertive just means being very clear. So how about assertive communication can mean removing the word sorry when you shouldn't have apologized. There's a lot of people who are programmed to always apologize. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, even though it wasn't their thing. So maybe the assertive communication isn't changing what you have to say. It's taking out those kind of passive things that we do to kind of soften the blow of what we're saying. So sometimes assertive communication can just be, and it doesn't need to be 24/7. Each one of these can just be one small daily habit. So if you're like, okay, I haven't done any assertive communication today. Someone is telling me, oh, do I want to go to this thing? How about instead of making an excuse, I just say, hey, I don't really have the bandwidth or the mental capacity to be around all those people right now. Thank you for the invite. I would love to do something in the future. Assertive communication. So it doesn't mean that, you have to be aggressive, assertive, put your boundaries. Like sometimes people think that people think that speaking up and all of this stuff has to do with being a bitch or something, but you don't have to. But if you want to, go for it. Okay. Now everybody's going to love this one. This is a good one. Relaxation. Dr. Maxwell Maltz says one of the 10 things you should do every day is a little bit of relaxation. So incorporate relaxation techniques into your daily routine and to manage stress and to promote mental well-being. Take time to unwind and recharge. Now, what is our problem today in the modern world is what we see as relaxation sometimes is actually not the best, most relaxing thing for us to do, right? Sometimes we might want to just go collapse onto, the couch, the bed, and just scroll on your phone. And you could just, for an hour, this is the way that you turn your brain off, that you tune out, that you decompress. Now, it's not always the best way. So, not saying you can't do that as relaxation, not saying watching something can't be relaxing. It absolutely can. But what he's talking about is relaxation techniques. So that would be a meditation technique, a breathing technique, a little bit of yoga, a little bit of a nightly routine. Maybe you're not quite there to do the meditation all the time. Maybe your nightly skin routine is a bit relaxing. And then after that, when you go in the bed, you just chill for a little, So not saying you can't relax on your phone, but relaxation techniques, if you're incorporating some type of breath work or meditation or yoga every day, your self-image will be improved. Okay. Recognition. Number 9. We're getting there. Okay. Recognition. Acknowledge your strengths, accomplishments, and progress. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small. So one of the things they talk about in the book, in the Psycho-Cybernetics, is that some people might want to keep a success journal or a recognition journal or a wins journal. And that's a great way to do it. Maybe if you just had a little checklist of these 10 things, you could just say, you could just take a couple minutes, 1 minute each day, 5 minutes each day to just give yourself a little bit of recognition, how far you've come, how much you've grown, the different things you've accomplished, the things that you've done today for your mental health, the things that you actually were able to accomplish today, no matter how small, making the bed, no matter how small. And this one, number 10, most important, this is one that I really, 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 really need to implement, which is organize the day ahead. So plan and organize your day in advance to maximize productivity and reduce overwhelm. Set priorities and allocate time for self-care and personal development. It's the most important one because this one really, this is the one I struggle with. I don't usually have a daily plan, and by not having a daily plan, my day goes off the rails. Okay. That if you listen to that every day, It's a game changer. Okay, let me look at some of the comments here because there was a lot of good suggestions and stuff coming up. Okay. So, okay. All of the content you regularly keep up with, YouTube, Substack, TikTok, and that's your procrastination. Give yourself grace. It's incredibly extensive. Thank you. You were taking notes in a hurry. Yeah, anyone, these are in the comments. I do have some more stuff from Maxwell Maltz coming up, though. I do have a couple of other little excerpts from the book I'm going to get into. Yes, the alarms for affirmations. You've been doing journaling called Mind Vomit. You basically write nonstop and fill out 3 pages every day the second you get up in the morning. Cool. That's like Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. I love writing my reality out as if it's already happened. So powerful. That's true. That's great. I think that's like usually sometimes called scripting. You just do it straight in the alarm app in your phone. Okay. You're using the Notion journaling app. It's helpful. Assertive communication. While you were doing an Akashic record meditation a while ago, you kept getting be audible, be audible. Okay. It's amazing to do affirmations while driving because we're automatically in an alpha state. Yes. Awesome. What are these affirmations from? That was my favorite affirmations by Drew MacArthur on Audible. Oh, thank you, Emma, for the super chat. So I have some other things here that I want to share about Dr. Maxwell Maltz's, some of his teachings. Let's pull those up. Interesting. Hello, everybody. You do the mind dump journaling most mornings and some nights. I mean, honestly, I feel so much better when I do it. Yeah, I don't know why it's not syncing up here. Oh, here we go. Okay. So 10 ways to stimulate your creative imagination. So visualization is great because that is like a thing, part of the creative imagination. So because so much of this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, and then if you guys listen to the replay of my class from this weekend, we talk a lot about visualization too, and the Silva method is very based on that. So here is some tips from Dr. Maxwell Maltz to stimulate your creative imagination. Okay. How many of these are you using daily? Logic, facts, figures, and analysis, concepts, emotions, and images, and sensations. So these are kind of different aspects of the mind that we could be using. And here's just a couple of tips that he has. These are very simple tips. These are not like full, the book, like, as you guys know, a lot of you guys are already listening to it. It is very extensive, but here's just a couple of the things. Varied input. So something important for keeping our brain active, keeping our visualization good, keeping our ability to be able to, when your ability to visualize is really good, then your ability to manifest, to shift reality, to change things, to heal things are all increased. So he talks about varied input, which I think is important, so varied input can happen a lot of different ways. One way is like the way you get your information. Do you always get it from video? Do you want to sometimes get it from books? Do you want to sometimes get it from audio? Varied input can also be sensory, because that's more in like the facts, figures, and analysis thing. Varied input in concepts, emotions, and images. That could be, going somewhere that has an emotional charge, being around a situation that is emotionally charged, or, putting yourself in a situation where there's a lot of love around or a lot of happiness around. Varied input. So it could be different things. So sensations, varied input. So there could be a hot sensation, a cold sensation, so kind of just keeping in mind, obviously we have so much stuff to do every day, to keep up with every day. So it's not like you guys could get those 10 things to do every day. If you could do some of those every day, you're rocking and rolling. These things are just some other tips that I liked from the book. Things to doing mental exercises, blocking out distractions, asking for vivid detail. So one of these things is asking for vivid detail when you're doing any type of visualization work. If you find yourself in meditation, catch yourself and ask for more detail. Add in more detail. Someone's telling you a story, ask for more details. You're reading about something, let me go look into more details. That is good for your brain. That's going to be good for manifesting, for bending reality, for mental mastery overall. Visualizing peak performance in the present tense. So when you visualize your ultimate peak performance that you could ever achieve, seeing it in the present tense, these are things, like I said, these are some of his tips for increasing your creative imagination. And as we know, imagination and visualization is like the first step of actually creating something in the physical. It's a thought. A thought will become the visualization. You can become more and more and more skilled at the thought, to then when the thought comes to reality, it's already gone through a lot of that work. Okay, so resist interference by the left brain. So when you're practicing these things, it's great to resist the left brain. So if you find yourself analyzing something in a meditation, if you're doing an exercise, you're doing your mental screen, you're doing that, you want to suppress the left brain in a while. So what you want to do is get really in your right brain. Ask yourself, and we know this from Dolores Cannon's QHHD style. So we know you want to be like, okay, what does it feel like? What are the sensations? Is it hot? Is it cold? Do I feel like, what do I smell? What do I taste? What do I hear? What is in the air? Is there moisture in the air? Is there saltiness in the air? Things like that. So that kind of goes back to similar what was said right before of asking for vivid detail. Also, resisting the left brain sometimes means going more into those type of details as opposed to the details of the left brain, which is like numbers, analytics, use mental movies and mental rehearsal. And okay. So here's some stuff, since this video was about the self-image. Here's a couple of things. The number one enemy of self-confidence is the critic within, which we know that, of course. But it's not other people or any other outside experience. The number one enemy of what we're able to do is mostly coming from our critic within. There are other people, other factors, but really it's usually ourselves that is fully preventing us from doing something. So we want to learn to be aware of it and control the conversations of your inner critic. So this was some of the stuff that we talked about in the class yesterday about the dynamic stillness, the replay on Substack, as you know. And so in that, we talked about one of the things that is used in the Silva method is cancel. So when you find yourself having a thought or something that is just not aligned with what you're building for the future, like say it just becomes a repetitive thought. Some people have suicidal thoughts that they're not even having. They're just used to saying that they just don't want to be here. They don't want to be alive. They don't want to this. It's just a pattern, and they're not even consciously thinking that or feeling that. And they don't even maybe sometimes know why they say it. This is something that, you could use the Silva method. You see yourself do it, and then you go grab it. Oh, cancel, and then correct it. So, like, oh, this is killing me. Oh, cancel. Wow, I'm really exhausted doing this. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do a fake positive statement. You don't have to say, I love this. No, you just have to have a statement that lets you know that like, okay, this is something that's happening now, So like a lot of times I think when people think they want to take that corrective action or that corrective statement, they think that you have to be like, oh, now I have to pretend to be happy. No, you just need to be like realistic. A lot of times people think that you have to be full-blown optimistic. No, you just could probably still be realistic. Like if you say something like, oh, I hate this is never going to work out for me. We find ourselves in this. There's things that we get triggered by from wounds from when we were younger, from sometimes just being exhausted, sometimes just I haven't eaten, sometimes you just feel not supported. And, you'll say these things of like, oh gosh, I'm just so done. I don't want to live anymore. Let the apocalypse come. Start the apocalypse now. Like just these are things that's kind of sometimes when we're in real frustration, we can click into. But if we find ourselves doing it, instead, you don't have to say like, oh no, let me correct it. I love life. I'm feeling great. No, you don't need to lie and be ridiculous. You need to be just okay, realistic. So instead of kill me now, right? When you're frustrated, you could say, oh man, this is really getting to me. And I think I just need a minute. Or like, damn, I'm freaking frustrated. I just want to chill for a sec. Like it's okay to sometimes, because we exaggerate in the other way too. A lot of times people think you need to fully exaggerate to the positive, which is the same far end of the spectrum. We probably just need more realistic statements of right now, I feel like this. It will pass. So if you can kind of redirect those negative thoughts to, it doesn't need to be fake positive. It just needs to be realistic of this is the way I feel right now. This will pass. I'm going to feel other things in other times in my life. I'm going to live beyond this day. Okay, so learn to replace situational self-confidence with total self-confidence. The confident feelings you have in any one situation can transfer to any other situation. So let's say you're someone who, maybe you're confident in one aspect. So you're very confident in your job, but you're not very confident in a social setting. So you're very good in your like work position, but then in social settings, you're not that comfortable being yourself. So you're kind of okay playing the character at work, but you're not that okay just being in a social setting. Okay, so what this is saying, situational self-confidence versus total self-confidence. Situational self-confidence is you are very confident in your work position, but you don't have the total confidence because it doesn't come into every aspect of your life. So this is sometimes reminding you, this is similar to the mental rehearsal, where you go back and replay the important skills, or you go back and see your past successes, or go back and recognize your accomplishments. With this, you do that similar, but you know that the confidence I have in this area will apply to other areas of life. So if you're an excellent teacher, but then you go out on a date and you don't feel confident now, say, oh no, the confidence that I have in front of my students is the confidence I could have right now. Say, if we'll go back to the depression example, if someone is battling with depression and they're really struggling to kind of find where are their accomplishments, where do they have confidence in other aspects of their life? Maybe it's a video game. Right? So maybe someone has confidence in themselves playing a video game. They're like, I freaking kick ass at this shit. So take that confidence and say, okay, every area of my life that I have confidence in, I can apply that confidence to other areas of my life and it will translate. Will it translate on the first time? Sometimes. Well, sometimes it take a couple times. It will translate. Confidence. Look at someone like all of these geniuses, right? Look at someone like Elon Musk, right? Whether you like him or hate him or whatever, think he's a man-child, whatever you think. He is someone who, that confidence that he has from one area, he's very comfortable applying it to a lot of different avenues, even in stuff he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Like X Twitter situation. He was a genius of certain things. He was not a genius of social media. He's someone who definitely socially has something different about him, right? So it's not like he was a master of social and social media and social interactions. He's extremely awkward, but he applied that confidence from these other areas of his life into this. He didn't say, oh, social media is for people that are hotter than me. Social media is for people that are smarter than me. People that have this or have that, or people that, no, he doesn't care. he freaking goes to Burning Man and wears these little outfits and stuff. He doesn't care. He applies that confidence to all areas of his life. He makes that Cybertruck and everyone's like, what the heck is this thing? It looks a little weird. He applies that confidence that he had with each and everything. And it works because most of the times people are just going to be responding to the confidence. Okay. Unshakable self-confidence is built on 4-cornered foundation. So that's work, superior knowledge, deliberately acquired skills, and your ability to relax. So the 4 corners, okay? So work. So let's say you want to work towards, let's use fitness again as an example. So the 4 corners are the 4 foundation, the 4 pillars. You know, we need 4 for everything. When we talk about the dimension stuff, we need 4. 4 is a stable number, okay? So we have 4 on everything. Work is the first one. So you have to be willing to do the work. Superior knowledge. You have to be willing to get the superior knowledge. So let's say you want to be a thought leader or a master of something. You want to have something in your field that you're the best at. You have to do the work. You need superior knowledge. You need deliberately acquired skills. Deliberately acquired skills. So that means that you need to specifically go out and learn these things, which goes along with the superior knowledge. And the ability to relax. That's what he says the 4th one is. So enjoy that 4th one just as much as you enjoy all the rest. Okay, for our last 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you Dr. Maxwell Maltz's quick tips for being more optimistic. When you feel frustrated, stop and ask yourself if you are giving the power of... If you're feeling frustrated, stop and ask yourself if you are giving the power of permanence to something that can be changed. Permanence. Okay. For example, if you're frustrated, can this thing be changed? Most things can be changed. If it can be changed, you need to question yourself and said, am I reacting as if this was something permanent? Because if it's not something permanent, it can change. Okay, then whatever, it will change, time will pass. Then why give it the pressure as if it was permanent? Okay, number 2, tell yourself, I can figure this out. I can figure this out. Look at that. Something happens, your tire explodes. You're driving, your tire explodes, God forbid. And you say, instead of you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? Oh no, I'm scared. You could say, okay, I can figure this out. I can figure this out. I can figure this out. That's a practical affirmation. So you can always do that. If you feel yourself, something comes up and you're like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm so anxious. How the hell do I do this? I can figure this out. I can figure this out. I can figure this out. Okay. Remind yourself of your past achievements that indicate you can do better in this particular situation. This is such a big part of his work that it literally comes up on every list of everything in his book, and every chapter talks about these past achievements. They're so important. And, you know, a lot of us are the type of people who just blow on to the next thing. I'm like, okay, achieved it, got it. Okay, great, got a book deal, cool. Now I'm going to move to the next thing, move to this, move to that. I don't ever take a step to enjoy it. Oh, thank you for this super chat, Andrea. Andrea is one of my best friends, guys. That's so funny. I love you. Thank you. This is your first ever super chat. I'm not surprised. Okay. Let's see. Next, be alert for patternistic behavior. Doing the same thing the same way when doing so has previously produced unsatisfactory results. Break the pattern. So be mindful of patterns. Be like, damn, whenever I get frustrated, I do this. Or whenever so-and-so texts me, I react like this. Every time I wake up, I want to stop drinking coffee, but I do that coffee again. So ways to be more optimistic is really identifying those patterns. And then, okay, the next step, that's like kind of where we talked about those 10 daily activities where you take 10 daily habits, and one of them is like a goal-driven action. A goal-driven action would be to look at the patternistic behavior and then take that step the next day. Or corrective action could be that same way. You see the patternistic behavior, and then you take the corrective action. And our last one, number 5, be sure to take note of every good thing that occurs. And more importantly, that you make everything that you make happen during the day. Conversely, we tend to note the frustrating incidents of the day more than the good ones. So that's really important to remember, because a lot of times, especially you guys that are married or, live with people in your home, a lot of times, that kind of end of the day compressing, talking about your day, talking about work, talking about different things as a way to connect with your partner, or, whoever you live with, your roommates. And it is true. Most of the time, the things we want to share were the things that were frustrating, the things that went wrong, the things that didn't work out the way that we wanted them to. But we forget all of the things that day that went well, that we made happen, that we did do. So we take a note of this. So when you're talking about your day, maybe if someone says, how was your day? Make a note and say, you know what, I'm going to start. Maybe this is the patternistic behavior. Whenever someone asks me how my day is, I tend to tell them the negative things. I'm going to take a corrective action, or I'm going to take a step towards my goal of being more optimistic by saying, okay, when someone says, how are you doing? I'm going to say, oh, things are really good. This is this really good thing that happened. So we can see these things in very small ways, like all of this. I mean, I know I dumped a lot of information from this book, but at the same time, none of it was anything that you guys don't already know, which is, it's always a good reminder. That's why, like I told you, I've done this book, read this book, audiobook, how many times? So many times. I still come back to it all the time. I would come back and I take notes when I read it or when I listen to it, because it really is like repetition is the way for a lot of this stuff. This book inspired Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, everybody. They all were inspired by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Dr. Maxwell Maltz is the guy who came up with this term or this concept, 21 days to create a habit. So that like we kind of have this general consensus that if you do anything for 21 days, you'll be able to create a habit with it. And so Maxwell Maltz is the one who came up with that concept through this stuff, through these things, through his teachings of the self-image of Psycho-Cybernetics. So that's where that whole concept comes from of 21 days. This is like how fundamental this guy is to self-help as we know it. He is embedded into all of this fabric of what we believe about better shaping our minds and our lives. So below in the links below, I have, there's a free audiobook that I linked to someone else's YouTube page. And I have the list of 10 things that you can do every day there. I suggest you copy them or write them down on a paper and then try to every day do a little star, a little check mark next to them. And some days you'll do all 10. Some days you'll only have the energy to do 1. You should always be able to do the affirmations, because what do you have to say? 1 minimum. It has an S, minimum 2. Obviously you don't want to think about what is the minimum I have to do for any of these things, but sometimes the minimum is all you can do right now. So even if you only spent 10 minutes a day and you gave one of those things only 1 minute, that would be an astronomical improvement for your self-image, for your mental health, for your physical health.